Welcome back, Guardians. Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. It seems like it's been ages since the Starfire Protocol was the go-to meta for solar Warlocks. And ever since this exotic was nerfed, Warlocks have had to find other exotics to build craft around, which hasn't been easy. The Starfire Protocol gave Warlocks a near endless supply of fusion grenades, allowing them to put up a lot of damage against raid and dungeon bosses. The Starfire Protocol will never be the same as it once was, but in Season of the Wish, we have been given some new resources that have been able to resurrect this exotic with a brand new twist. With the release of the new Warlord's Ruin, the Buried Bloodline Exotic Sidearm has become available, and this is going to provide some extremely unique benefits with this Starfire Protocol build. We've had a chance to play around with this new sidearm on a few different loadouts so far. It worked out really well with the Night Stalker Hunter, and it made a nice fit with the Nezarec Sin. But when we take the Bloodline and combine it with the Starfire Protocol, some interesting things start to happen, and we start seeing the Starfire Protocol performing at an entirely new level. We'll have all the same benefits that the Starfire have always provided. We'll have a constant source of radiance, we'll have Cure and Restoration, but then we'll also have Devour, providing us with an additional source of health and grenade regeneration, along with the ability to weaken our enemies. The Starfire Protocol comes with the intrinsic trait called Fusion Harness. This gives us an extra fusion grenade charge, and provides a passive increase of 20% to the base regeneration rate of our grenade ability. When we are standing inside of a Well of Radiance or an Empowering Rift, we'll gain 2.5% grenade energy whenever hitting enemies with any of our weapons. There is a 0.4 second cooldown between each application, which was a leading contributor in bringing the Starfire down off of its pedestal. But even with the addition of this cooldown, we're going to be able to keep those grenades constantly recharged. On top of the energy that we'll gain from hitting enemies with our weapons, we'll gain 20% extra grenade energy whenever we defeat enemies. And when we defeat enemies with our grenades, we'll fully restore our class ability energy, allowing us to put these empowering rifts everywhere. So not only will we be able to enjoy the benefits of increased weapon damage, but so will our teammates. When we add the Buried Bloodline into the mix, we're getting an extremely powerful sidearm that's going to give us a ton of benefits. This comes with the Violent Reanimation and Split Vein Lineage intrinsic traits. So when we hit enemies with this sidearm, we'll get 11 points of health regenerated. And after defeating 3 rank and file enemies, or defeating just 1 yellow bar enemy, we'll get Devour triggered. Devour will restore 100 points of health every time we defeat an enemy, and when we defeat an enemy, we'll gain between 7 and 20% extra grenade energy based on the opponent's difficulty level. As we defeat enemies, Devour will get extended, so once Devour has been activated, as long as we're staying engaged in combat, we should be able to continuously reap the benefits of the extra health and extra grenade energy, which will stack right on top of the added energy that the Starfire Protocol is already giving us, allowing us to maximize on our production of fusion grenades exponentially. The only caveat to this is that we have to keep getting kills to trigger the bonus grenade energy, and that shouldn't be a problem when clearing through waves of enemies. But when using the Starfire in a DPS loadout, you'll have to rely on rank and file enemies that spawn in during damage phases. But there's actually quite a few boss encounters that do include a lot of rank and file enemies, like the Blight Eyes in the final encounter of Warlord's Ruin, or the Vex Goblins during the Templar encounter of Vault of Glass. When Devour is active, hitting enemies with the Bloodline will cause them to become weakened, causing them to take an additional 15% damage over the course of 6 seconds, making our weapons and fusion grenades much more effective. We've only scraped the tip of the iceberg, and we're already looking at some insane levels of grenade and health restoration. So let's take a look at what our solar class tree is going to provide for us. To increase the lethality of our fusion grenades, we're using Touch of Flame. This is going to give our fusion grenades a secondary explosion. We're also using the Icarus Dash aspect. I like the increased mobility that this adds, And when we do defeat enemies while airborne, we'll get 1 stack of Cure. We are of course running with an Empowering Rift, so that we'll be able to trigger the benefits of the Starfire Protocol. And as far as fragments go, we've got Ember of Torches. This will grant us Radiance after striking enemies with a charged melee. And while Radiance is active, we'll have a 20% increase to all weapon damage. And any weapon that's not already predisposed to handle an overload or unstoppable champion will be able to pierce barrier champion shields. To give our fusion grenades another bump in their effectiveness, we're using Ember of Ashes, which is going to double the amount of scorch damage that enemies take, which will also help our charged melee and any legendary weapons that have incandescent. And by using Ember of Resolve, whenever we defeat enemies with our grenades, we'll get a stack of Cure off of each enemy, providing us with 60 points of health. We should have Devour active most of the time, but this is going to help out when we don't have Devour active. We're also currently equipped with Ember of Empyrean, which extends the effects of Restoration and Radiance when defeating enemies with our solar weapons or abilities. If we find ourselves in a team activity though, Ember of Benevolence will greatly improve the regeneration rate of our grenade, melee, and class ability energies, giving them a 400% boost after we apply Radiance, Cure, or Restoration to an ally, or after we heal or revive an ally. Before we talk about the seasonal artifact and our choices in armor, let's check out the rest of the weapons that we'll be using with this build. Since the Bloodline takes up our special slot, it can be tricky to have a reliable solar weapon equipped. This is why I love the inclusion of weapons that have the Osmosis or Permeability weapon perks, like the Braytech Werewolf. This way I can turn this kinetic auto rifle into a solar one by just throwing a grenade. And once I've triggered Devour with the Bloodline, I can easily swap over to the Braytech and get all the benefits that I would have gotten from a normal solar legendary weapon. As far as heavy options go, there are weapons like the Chain of Command that offer Osmosis, or the Slammer, which can drop with Permeability. It would also be nice to have Demolitionist as an available perk, as this will give us additional grenade energy. But if you're looking for DPS, then the Apex Predator, the Cataclysmic, or the Cry Mutiny are going to be the best solar options. Now that we know what weapons we're working with, let's check out our seasonal artifact. Heart of the Flame will be a great addition to give us increased grenade and melee damage after casting our Well of Radiance, as long as there's allies nearby. And this also provides everyone with Radiance. Kindling Trigger, Flint Striker, and Rays of Precision are all going to improve the performance of our solar weapons, which is why using Osmosis and Permeability can become so important. We'll be able to have an additional means of getting Radiance with Flint Striker. Our solar weapons will apply Scorch when we're Radiant thanks to Kindling Trigger, and our Precision Final Blows will cause targets to ignite because of Rays of Precision. We've also got Revitalizing Blast, which is going to weaken bosses and champions whenever we hit them with any of our solar abilities. We've got Wished into Being, which is going to give us extra orbs, as we'll gain 3 extra orbs when this gets triggered, and we intend on using every one of those orbs. If we decided to throw in a mixture of stasis or strained weapons, the use of mods like Torch, Dragon's Bite, and Hail the Storm could be really beneficial. And if we are using grenade launchers or rocket launchers, then we should consider running Blast Radius and Argent Ordnance. And the last thing before we move to armor, if you're going up against Taken or Scorn enemies, which does happen a lot this season, From Whence It Came will give you a 5% boost to ability damage against those enemies. Since this build revolves around the use of our grenades, Discipline is a natural character stat to focus towards. Resilience will also be needed to reduce how much damage that we take. And since it reduces how long it takes to regain Rift energy and regenerate health, Recovery would be another great character stat to focus towards. When it comes to our armor mods, our plan is to improve the uptime of our fusion grenades. to have our Well of Radiance up as often as possible, and to generate as many orbs as we can. To that end, we are using Harmonic Siphon mods on our helmet, Firepower mods on our gloves, and Reaper mods on our class item. We've got Ashes to Assets on our helmet to give us bonus super energy off of those grenade kills. And to make use of those orbs, we've got 2 Innervation mods and 1 Absolution mod on our boots, helping us regenerate all of our abilities whenever we collect those orbs. And with the use of a Grenade Kickstart mod on our gloves, we'll be able to take those armor charges that the orbs are providing us and convert them into grenade energy whenever we throw our grenade. This will provide an instant surge of up to 35% grenade energy. Between what our class tree, Devour, and our other armor mods are providing, we'll be able to have a constant stream of fusion grenades, helping us take down big groups of enemies, bosses, or anything else that you come across. Like I said earlier, the Starfire will never be what it once was, but in Season of the Wish, with the addition of the Buried Bloodline, the Starfire Protocol has performed better than it has in several seasons. So if you haven't given this exotic combination a try yet, then it is about time that you do so, because this is such an incredibly fun and powerful new Solar Warlock build. And with that said, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this Starfire build and its inclusion of the Buried Bloodline. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. If you're a new Light Guardian, just starting your journey, or a battle-hardened veteran, just looking for a new home, then be sure to check out the Discord link in the description below and join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. If you need help making a copy of today's build, you can visit the Destiny Item Manager link that's down in the description as well. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.